Hey, welcome back, students. In this video, I want to go ahead and talk to you about some tips for writing formulas for acids. Acids tend to be, on the one hand, one of the easiest compounds to recognize when you're looking at a name, but it's also one of the hardest to write a formula for, especially with some of the rules that we've got going. So let me give you a quick rundown as to what this looks like. Okay, so the very first thing you want to do is you want to do the following. Let me go ahead and write these over here on the left-hand side. The very first thing is you want to look for clues, okay? And so here's some clues that you actually want to be able to identify. The very first clue is things like the word acid. Largely you want to do this because the word acid here identifies that you've got a very specific atom. And so acid then is going to tell you that you've got hydrogen. Hydrogen is going to be in the compound. But the thing about this hydrogen, it's going to be the first atom in the formula. So the next tip I want to give you is to look for the word hydro. Hydro is important to us because hydro gives us a little bit of a indicator of whether you have a very specific type of anion, whether it's going to end in ATE or whether it's going to be a monatomic. And here's the real tip. Whenever you see the word hydro, this specifically is referring to a monatomic. And what that means is that it's going to end in IDE. Now, why is that important? Because whenever we're naming the compounds, this is the rule. But whenever we're trying to write the formula comes from following some of the steps in reverse order. So what that means for us is whenever we see a name, typically we're going to go from ic, and we're going to convert that to ide. Okay, that's the main thing that you should know there. Now, if you don't see the word hydro, then that's going to be the other case, in which case that'll be step 3. And so we'll just put it here, no hydro in the name. What this means here is that you've got a polyatomic. And so what we're going to wind up doing here is instead of doing the change from ic to ide, we're going to go from ic to 8. And that's the movement that we're going to do there. So these are some general tips that you'll use. And then the last tip here is once you've got all of that, and as you want to go ahead and then at that point follow the steps for the naming or writing the formulas for the other types. You're going to have to go ahead and convert to symbols. And then the last step here would be to write the formula. Now keep in mind these are general steps, but and so let's use them to come up with the formula for the following compound. All right, so notice the compound that we've got over here on the left-hand side. And so let's kind of translate this name into the actual formula. So clue number 1, look for acids. Do you see any of that? And sure enough, here we go. We've got an acid. So what does this tell us? This tells us right off the back that we've got a hydrogen present there. Okay. And then the other item is we're going to go look for hydro. So no hydro, skip that step. There's no hydro here, so we know that we've got a polyatomic. So first things first, remember that the compound here is always going to have a positive and a negative side. And so what you got to remember here is whenever you see the acid, that actually goes right there in that spot there. So this oxygen or this hydrogen is actually going to go first. So that means that this other part, the phosphoric part, is going to go into the negative side. So let's go ahead and do this right now, and then let's just write down phosphoric as an example. And what we're going to do now is we're going to follow the rule here. Since we don't see any hydro, we know that it's a polyatomic. And generally what you're going to do is you're going to take this ic portion over here and you're going to replace it with ATE. So you want to go ahead and bring down the phosphor part. Okay? And notice what this is, phosphate. Since we already know the symbol for phosphate, we can easily now convert this portion here to the formula, which that winds up being PO4. And then here is going to be a 3 minus, okay? Bring down your hydrogen. Now, with acids, because acids are polar, you do need to take into account the charges, okay? And so here, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to look at the charges, make sure it's all balanced, right? And so symbols, and I'm going to put here balance as a new step on the other side for step number 4. And then you want to do that balancing. The easy step here to do is to actually look at the 3 and do the crisscrossing effect here and here, which would give you an overall formula of H3PO4. And that is your final formula for phosphoric acid. Now keep in mind that this is a general process of how you do this, but typically if you follow these steps here, you definitely will be able to get what you need overall. All right, so if you have any questions, see me in class. If not, keep watching, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next video.